Welcome to the annual 2-day Circuit Assembly of Jehovah's Witnesses. We anticipate that this program will provide much spiritual benefit for all of us. This You Are No Part of the World Circuit Assembly is based on the scripture found in John chapter 15 and verse 16. Isn't that why we're all here? So that we can learn how to be no part of the world and be protected. In his first talk at this circuit assembly, our district overseer, Brother Robert E. Suter, will set the tone for the entire program by highlighting our theme, You Are No Part of the World, by speaking to us on the subject, No Part of the World, What Does It Mean? Brother Suter, please.
Well, my name is Bob, and my wife's name is Joanne, and the last name is Suter. She has the same last name as I do. So we're glad that we can be with you, friends, here in Florida 10. Now, just so you know where we're sitting, I can't have my wife stand up. She's had a foot operation, so she's going to be sitting down a little bit. But we're back there, right, kind of down from the sound. We want you to come and see us. We can't come around and see all of you, so just come and see us. We'll be here for 3 years. So after 3 years, don't come up to us and say, "Oh, I wish we'd have gotten to know you," because we do the same thing, and we'd like to know you too. So just come up and say hello, and we'll get acquainted. Now, just to tell you a little bit, we started in California, went across the United States, went back to California. That's enough. And then we went to Georgia and Alabama. That's where we just came from. That was our last district. Been in the district work a few years. So you friends have a good reputation. Just want you to know that. And my wife and I, we never thought we'd come to Florida. But we're sure glad we did this winter. Whoa. Now, we know you love the O'Briens. We know that. We understand. You get close to brothers. And it's hard. It's hard when you get a new circuit overseer, a new district. It's difficult. You just get to know the other one, and then all of a sudden a new one comes, and it's totally different. And you say, well, how come? Well, sorry. That's just the way it is. But all we ask is not that you stop loving the O'Briens. Just all we need is just a little part of your heart. That's all, just a little bit. And then we'll be able to work from there and see how that goes. Now, you've had Brother Weaver for 3 years coming September. I know you're going to miss him, but he'll talk to you about that later. And you wonder why he has to leave, but that's the way it works. Sorry. Do us a favor, though, would you, please? Just do us a favor. Now, we probably meet hundreds of people on a weekend. So what we would like you to do is, please, don't come up to us and say, "Remember me?" Come on, we meet too many people for that. Just tell us who you are, and then we'll tell you who we are. And then if you get smart, well, that's okay, but we'll ask you what our middle name is. You'll have to remember, or we'll feel bad. All right, now you know the theme. You are no part of the world, John 15:19. Now that's the theme of our circuit assembly. Now this discussion is dealing with no part of the world. What does it mean? Friends, it has been said that the end of the human race will be that it will eventually die of civilization. And that's not so far off. Because civilization means a society or nation or empire all related to man and his way of ruling. Now, if this were to continue, man and his way of ruling, we'd have some difficulties. And we can see why we'd have difficulties if Jehovah didn't step in because of a comment that's made in 2 Corinthians chapter 11, verse 3. Now, let's get our Bible out. Please, purse, book bag, wherever. This is the first one we'll read, and I'll give you a chance to find it. 2 Corinthians chapter 11 and verse 3. And then when we get there, I'm going to read this to you in a different translation. 2 Corinthians chapter 11, verse 3. Now, this is the King James Version, and it says, "But I fear lest by any means, as the serpent beguiled Eve through his subtlety, so your minds should be corrupted from the simplicity that is in the Christ." Now, the reason why we read that in the King James is because it used the word beguiled. But now you notice what it is in the New World. It's seduced. That's excellent. That's a perfect translation because Strong's Hebrew and Greek dictionary says beguiled is to seduce wholly, to deceive. that's what Satan the devil has done to the whole human race, the whole society of humans. And if he were allowed to continue, it would not stop. Nothing would change. So there has to be some adjustments being made. I mean, here he totally wholly seduced and deceived Adam and Eve. And what do we have from that? We're in the shape we're in today. And so it's been done over and over throughout human society. Satan the devil is trying to undermine the morals of humans, their integrity of humans, and especially the integrity and morals of God's people. That means that we need to know, understand, comprehend the weapons that Satan the devil has crafted or put together to undermine our relationship with our Creator. See, we're at war. And so what we have to do is we have to learn what the weapons of mass distraction, how he distracts us and to seduce us wholly and deceive. Basically three things: political element or civilization, religion, and the commercial aspect of life. So a part and parcel, the whole thing together is what the devil is doing in order to mislead or misdirect the world. And you know, friends, you kind of wonder, if these people in the world that are so brainy, they're so smart, shouldn't they be able to figure it out? There's a philosopher and historian, his name is Bertrand Russell. He made a comment in the New York Times magazine on September 27, 1953. He said, "Ever since 1914, everybody conscious of trends in the world has been deeply troubled by what has seemed like a fated and predetermined march toward ever greater disaster. Many serious people come to feel that nothing can be done to avert the plunge toward ruin." Now, why? Why can't individuals figure it out? They look at what man has done over centuries and they can't say, well, no, that's not the way to do it. What could be the possibilities? Well, what has happened? Well, they're being misled. But see, here's what the devil has done. Now, you mommies have a baby 3 months old, 2 months old, and it becomes fussy. And so you check both ends, and you know that it's fed, and you know that its diaper's okay, so you know those aren't a problem. So it's just fussy. So what do? Well, you hold it in your arms, and you kind of move a little bit. You may hum a little tune. Sing. I'm not going to do that for you, but just hum or sing something to the baby. And pretty soon the baby just kind of goes off to sleep. That's what the devil has done. He's humming a lullaby in the form of political, commercial, religious, and it's putting thousands, millions of people to sleep spiritually. They just don't understand. But you see, we don't have to listen to the lullaby. Jehovah's provided for us principles. We know what's right. We know what's wrong, good, bad. And we're safeguarded. Our spirituality is progressive. We benefit because we're doing it differently. Now just think about it. The Israelites, weren't they different from everybody around them? They didn't amalgamate. They didn't become a part of it until they wanted to be like them. But when Jehovah set up the law, they were different. I mean, here the Israelites, if they were careful and adhered to the Mosaic law, they benefited. They shunned those degrading practices that were all around them. They were isolated. There's an illustrated Bible dictionary that commented on some of the texts that they've unearthed in their in some of the digs, and they said, here's what one of the texts said, and they show that the degrading results of the worship of these deities, with their emphasis on war, sacred prostitution, sensuous love, and the consequent social degradation. One historian, Jacqueline Gachette, said that those other than the Israelites believed that the demons had a close relationship with animals, That's why when they'd cut open an animal and they'd look at the organs to get a negative or positive answer to a question. The Israelites did not do that. Deuteronomy 18, what did it tell them? It says, you don't have anything to do with those things. Jehovah's going to bless your efforts. And it wasn't just in their practices. It was also the way they looked. I mean, they'd wear a skirt, sort of a skirt, with a fringe at the bottom. And above this fringe was a blue thread. Now why? Well, for one thing, they could see it on each other, and it would remind them who they were, the law, what was required, what was expected of them. And they would obey the commands because that was a constant reminder for them. Any different today? We're different, aren't we? People look at us and they know there's something different about us. As a matter of fact, people who know Jehovah's Witnesses, they know that we observe rules and regulations and laws and morals, and at the same time, they expect us to obey the law. They expect us to do what is right. Whether they like us or not, they know that we're supposed to act a certain way. Isn't that true? See, you can have a preacher of any religion who embezzles $100,000 from the church. He has affairs with a half a dozen women in his congregation, and he's a pedophile, and the newspaper will read, preacher did some bad things. We break the law? You read in the newspaper, Jehovah's Witness jaywalks, and everybody gets excited because we broke the law. See, we are set apart, and even though people expect that, they know that we have a regard for moral cleanness, respect for the sanctity of blood. We avoid idolatry. Some people don't like that, and they're not going to be a part of it. But others see it, and they say, I think they have something. So it's sad now that some disregard the fact that the truth is in the Bible, and they become a victim to their own thinking, their practices, and because of that, they're going to suffer the consequences. Now, what have we been promised so that we can keep our thinking straight? See, because the thinking is what's the problem. A person thinks and then they act. It's not the other way around. Isn't that right? You don't act and then say, oh, wow, I didn't know about that. No. Think it and then act. And that's what that's what Satan did to Eve. He got her to think incorrectly. That's what he's trying to do for us. And that's why the theme here in John 15, we're going to look at that now. John 15, verse 19. And let's see why the world that we're talking about here, the Greek cosmos, is the mass of human society alienated from God. Now that's why this is such a dangerous environment that we find ourselves in. Because we're in the world that's alienated from God. So now let's look at John chapter 15. And we're going to read verse 19. Now, it says here in John 15:19, if you were part of the world would be fond of what is its own. Now, because you are no part of the world, but I have chosen you out of the world, on this account the world hates you. Isn't that true? Because we're not going to run with them. So our worship then, it elevates us. It doesn't make us better. It doesn't make us that we can look down on people, but it does protect, it guards us, it shields us from the debased thinking of Satan's world. See, we think about what happened when Christ came, that he ended the law. See, after Jesus came, mankind could now worship God according to a superior way of worship, based on Christ, the teachings, to have a relationship with their Creator. See, under the law said, here's what you do, okay? So now it becomes like a child who allows the tutor to tell them what to do. But that's not the way it was with Jesus. He got rid of the law, and now it's a grown son wanting a relationship with their father. So the Israelites, the law was the ABCs of religion whereas Jesus' way was far superior because of that relationship. Now that's what creates some of the problems, because now we want to have a relationship with our Creator. Satan, the devil, is the one who rules the world, and he tries to keep people in darkness. It wasn't God's idea to have this happen. He wants mankind to worship and enjoy life, worship Him correctly. The Bible says the whole world is lying in the power of the wicked one. And it's not just that we're a part of humanity. We're a part of that world that is outside, the cosmos, the one that is alienated from God. And we're in the midst of this society, and that's why we have to be careful, because the fornication, idolatry, extortion, all those practices, that means that we're in it, but we have to stay clean, keep ourselves unspotted from this world and its corruption. So we don't enter into any kind of friendly relationship with the world. The world's condemned already. It's going to be taken care of. So there's no way that we can be guided or directed by worldly wisdom. It's foolishness to God. We don't breathe in the spirit of this world. It's selfish. It's sinful. And it's going contrary to God's law. Of course, at this point, we might ask ourselves, well, how can a disciple of Christ, how can we remain no part of the world? Well, it's obvious we can't become a hermit and go up and live in some mountain and build a cabin or something. It's not going to happen, because Galatians 6:10 says that we have to work what is good toward all. You can't do that if you're by yourself. So it's not that. So what do? Well, as we turn to John 17, we're going to look at 3 verses, 15, 16, and 17. And notice this beautiful, beautiful admonition and what Jesus wants His Father to do for us. In John chapter 17, we'll just read those three verses, 15, 16, and 17. Now in 15 it says, in John 17, it says, I request you not to take them out of the world, but to watch over them because of the wicked one. They are no part of the world, just as I am no part of the world. Sanctify them by means of the truth. Your word is truth. So that means we've been sanctified, friends. We've been set apart. And the way we've been set apart is because we know the truth. The truth has done that for us. So we avoid or shun or spurn or reject, ignore, turn away from the attitudes, the speech, the conduct that conflict with Jehovah's righteous standards. Now we know what happened to Adam and Eve. I mean, they were beguiled and seduced wholly and deceived. So Satan used corrupt thinking to get them to act. And one of the devil's snares today is to make us think that if we get close to the world, that the world will then accept us and become one of us. So we have neighbors or friends or workmates or schoolmates, and we try to show them that we're sort of like them. And then they'll become one of Jehovah's Witnesses. It really doesn't work that way, because what happens is sometimes the opposite takes place and we become like them. See, you've heard the illustration of taking this common sparrow and putting it in a cage with a canary so that the sparrow will learn how to sing. You leave them together for 2 or 3 months, and after 2 or 3 months, you go to the cage and you want them to sing, and the canary goes peep, peep, and that's all it does. The same thing happens to us. See, we try to get close to the world. We try to show them we're kind of like you. No, we're not like them. And we don't want to be like them. Another one of Satan's tricks is to embolden us, dedicated servants. And sometimes we say it's the young ones, but it's both young and older adults. Try to make us think that we can live a double life. That we can live one way around our friends, another way when we're around our worldly acquaintances. It doesn't work like that. Because we're now going to be the loser when it comes to having God's Spirit. Some have fallen because of the trap of abusing the internet. We've had so much information on the internet and how it's okay, but we have to use it correctly. But we hear about so many of the friends that are having difficulties because of that. So friends, what we have done is we've washed our robes, made them white in the blood of the Lamb. In other words, we've exercised faith in Jesus as a ransom. We've made a dedication to Jehovah. We've symbolized that by water baptism. And we hold a good conscience. Why would we want to change any of that? We're clean. We're righteous in Jehovah's eyes. We don't want to spoil that by trying to get as close as we can to the world. We're clean. The truth has separated us, sanctified us. And this circuit assembly is going to help us to identify specific ways that by means of this world, Satan the devil is trying to contaminate our thinking and our spirituality. And we're going to see how we can imitate Jesus by conquering the wicked one and conquering the wicked world. So friends, we want to be like those early Christians. We want to accept the spiritual provisions that keep us away from the world, the society, the nation, the empire, the civilization, anything that's related to man's way of thinking or ruling. Because without Jehovah's laws, principles, rules, using the inspired Word of God, it would be the end of the human race because of civilization. And that's why we are going to live by Jehovah's standards, remain unspotted from the world, and be no part of this world.